Why do we keep electing leaders who lie, then act surprised when they betray us? Why does democracy, our most celebrated system, so often feel broken, chaotic, and corrupt? What if the problem isn't the politicians, but us? 2,000 years ago, Plato warned that democracy carries the seeds of its own destruction, and we didn't listen. Imagine a society where everyone's voice matters, where every citizen gets a vote, and where freedom is the highest virtue. Sounds perfect, right? That's the promise of democracy, the idea that power comes from the people. But to Plato, it wasn't just a flawed idea, it was a dangerous illusion. In his famous work, The Republic, Plato didn't hold back. He claimed that democracy, left unchecked, doesn't lead to justice or peace. It leads to chaos, then tyranny. In this video, we'll break down Plato's shocking view on democracy, why he believed it was doomed to fail, how that failure unfolds step by step, and why his 2,000-year-old warning might be unfolding right now. To understand Plato's view, we have to start with the question: should everyone have an equal say in how society is run, even if not everyone understands what they're voting for? For Plato, the answer was a hard no. In his eyes, democracy sounds noble, everyone gets a voice, everyone is free. But in practice, it's like putting a ship in the middle of the sea and letting anyone steer. He famously used the ship of state analogy. Imagine a ship where the crew mutinies against the captain. They don't know how to navigate. They fight for control. They reward the loudest voice, not the wisest. And eventually, the ship crashes. That ship is democracy. And the captain, that's the philosopher, the one who sees truth, studies ethics, and understands long-term consequences. But in a democracy, that person is ignored. But people don't want wisdom. They want excitement, promises, and easy answers. Plato believed that in a democracy, people are ruled not by truth, but by persuasion. And those who rise to power are the ones who are best at lying well. Sound familiar? He warned that when society starts valuing freedom over responsibility and emotion over logic, democracy becomes nothing more than mob rule wearing a mask of justice. And the worst part, we often don't even notice it happening until it's too late. Plato didn't just stop at criticizing democracy. He went a step further and described exactly how it collapses from the inside. To him, democracy is a transition stage, not a final destination. It begins with freedom, glorious, intoxicating freedom. But then, that same freedom begins to rot. The excess of liberty, Plato wrote, whether in states or individuals, seems only to pass into excess of slavery. What did he mean? In a democratic society, everyone begins to demand more freedom. Freedom to speak without filter. Freedom to break tradition. Freedom from laws, from norms, from any form of restraint. Soon, everyone wants to live their own truth, their own morality, their own version of justice. And when that happens, order begins to crumble. Teachers lose authority. Parents fear their own children. Institutions are mocked, and chaos becomes normal. Now here's the chilling part. According to Plato, this confusion and disorder doesn't just annoy people, it terrifies them. And when fear sets in, people start to desperately crave control. That's when a new figure appears, someone who promises to end the chaos, a man of order, of strength, of simple answers. I will fix everything. Only I can save you. But people, exhausted by too much freedom, willingly hand over their liberty to a tyrant. Plato said it plainly. Democracy is the nursery of tyranny. What's most frightening is that tyranny doesn't arrive by force. It's not a military coup or a foreign invasion. It's the people, you and me, who invited it. Why? Because we mistake freedom for license, and leadership for dominance. Look at history. Time and time again, democracies give rise to strongmen, charismatic leaders who rise on the promise of restoring pride, order, and greatness. At first, they speak the language of the people. Then they silence it. And by the time we realize what's happening, we're already living in the very tyranny we feared. So when Plato looked at democracy, he didn't just see a flawed system. He saw a time bomb. And once the countdown starts, it's only a matter of when, not if. So, if democracy is flawed, if it's a slow march from freedom to chaos to tyranny, then what's the solution? Plato had one, and it was as idealistic as it was controversial. He proposed a radical idea. The only way to build a just society is to let it be ruled by a philosopher king, not a soldier, not a businessman, not a celebrity, but a ruler who loves truth more than power, who studies justice instead of chasing popularity, and who governs with reason, not ego. In Plato's words, until philosophers rule as kings, or those who are now called kings and leading men genuinely and adequately philosophize, cities will have no rest from evils. But let's pause here. In theory, that sounds beautiful. A leader who's wise, selfless, and trained in ethics. Who wouldn't want that? But in practice, it raises a disturbing question. Would people ever willingly follow someone like that? Let's be honest. Do we reward wisdom at the ballot box? Or do we reward charm, image, and soundbites? Plato didn't think the masses would choose a philosopher king, because philosopher kings are quiet. They speak slowly, they question everything. They make you feel uncertain, not excited. And in a society addicted to entertainment over education, that kind of leader doesn't stand a chance. So instead of philosopher kings, we get influencers, marketing experts, masters of the algorithm, people who look good, sound confident, and promise easy answers even if they have no idea what they're talking about. And the truth is, we love them for it. We want change, but we fear sacrifice. We want truth, but prefer convenience. We say we hate corruption, but secretly admire power. Plato wasn't just criticizing democracy, he was holding up a mirror to human nature itself. Because in the end, the real problem might not be the system, it might be us. So let's take a step back. Plato warned that democracy, while promising freedom, can drift into chaos, and from chaos, rise the seeds of tyranny. It starts with good intentions. Freedom, equality, voice for all. But slowly, it decays into noise, confusion, and emotional manipulation. Eventually, the people beg for order, and they invite their own oppressor. We've seen this cycle throughout history, from ancient Athens to modern republics, from celebrated democracies to authoritarian states. And the terrifying part, each time it begins with people like you and me, trusting the system blindly, or worse, treating politics like a game. So, was Plato right? Not entirely. He was a philosopher, not a prophet. But his warnings still echo through time louder than ever. And maybe that's the real lesson. Democracy isn't guaranteed. It's fragile. It survives only if we, the people, are wise enough to protect it from ourselves. If this video made you think even a little, hit that like button, and subscribe for more philosophical deep dives into the systems that shape our lives. And tell me in the comments, do you think Plato was right? Are we headed toward tyranny? Or is there still time to fix what's broken? Because if we want democracy to survive, we need more than votes. We need wisdom.